Welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you're doing well. We're here to preview the Bahrain Grand Prix. Following on from Suzuka, look, not the best Grand Prix, I have to admit. I put a question in the chat just now saying, why was the DRS allowed down the pit straight with the possibility to leave the DRS open into turn one? Mentioned no names, Jack Doohan. And we didn't have DRS down the back straight, 130R, because of the same problem. Ability to leave the DRS open through 130R, potential crash, blah, blah, blah. Well, those two, leaving the DRS open into 130R, leaving the DRS open into turn one, two of the exact same problems in my opinion. So the FIA or whoever's doing that call, consistently inconsistent. I would have loved to see another DRS open. Not to mention though, McLaren obviously didn't do the best job with strategy. We've spoken about that already, and we're here to talk about the Bahrain Grand Prix. What's on the menu today? Weather updates, driver mentality and who needs to do what, track characteristics, technical corners discussion. We've got a lovely technical track here with hairpins, decreasing radius corners, increasing radius corners as well. So your trail braking and traction is going to be important. Going to talk a little bit about Rob Wilson's philosophies. Going to show you my telemetry for this circuit as well. Going to talk about how to drive in dirty air around here as well. And I'm going to talk you guys through what happened in testing. Remember, we had 3 days of testing here. 2 very different days, day 2 and day 3. I'm going to show you guys what happened there as well. Bring you up to speed. Make sure we're fresh going into this one. Predictions, of course, strategy, turn one, lap one, and then questions from the floor. A big agenda as always. I know we've got a lot of people in the chat. Feel free to ask me a question as we go. Obviously, I'll prioritize members and super chats as you have to, right? All right, let's get cracking. So weather. The first time we've got a warm race. I'm going to bring up the weather for you as I always do. Hopefully you can see that on the screen in front of you. This is Saturday 36, Friday 36, Sunday 33. The only place that looks better than Perth, Australia at the moment in terms of weather. So this is good, right? Warm weather. It's the first time we're going to see a warm race this season. We had Melbourne, practice was warm and then it rained. We had China was very cool. Japan was very cool as well. Here we go in the heat with the hard compounds. We're going to get on to that later. So that's your first insight, and first thing to keep in mind is how is this heat going to affect? What do the drivers need to do? Which car is going to come to the surface and look after its tires? We know the McLaren's got a lot of front grip. We don't know the Mercedes has got a lot of traction. Bahrain being, I would go with rear limited circuit. So maybe in the hands of Mercedes there, but McLaren are holding a lot of cards, guys. McLaren have got the front grip card. They've got the top speed card. They've got the aero efficiency card. They've got the traction card. They've got the tire manager. They're holding a few cards, these guys. So it's our job to try to take those cards off them, distribute them amongst the field so we don't have a walkover championship. So it was good to see Max Verstappen win. So that's the weather. Keep an eye out on that. I think McLaren will look after the fronts pretty well. We'll get onto that a little bit later. I'll skim through the weather part just quickly so we can get into the meat of the live stream. Driver's mentality and who needs to do what. Believe it or not, I haven't changed this from what I had last week. Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda need good weekends, as they did in Suzuka. Not good weekends from those two. They got outclassed by their teammates respectively. Max Verstappen won the race. I think Tsunoda finished 12, 13, 14, something like that. Not good anyway. And Hadjar got in the points. And Liam Lawson didn't do a great job given that Hadjar got in the points, right? So those two need to get on it. Now, I know it's easier said than done. Jumping between cars, between races, I get it. Challenging, but iteration. You guys have seen the video, How to Drive Like a Machine, the live stream that I did towards the end of last year. That's what they need to do. And we've got a full weekend here, FP1, FP2, FP3. There's no excuses to not get up to speed. So hopefully we're going to see the true pace from those two start to come out. McLaren, like I said last week as well, game on. It's 1 win apiece. Piastri won China, Lando won Melbourne. Then they finished 2-3 last weekend in Suzuka. It's game on there. I can't help but feel the pressure is on Lando here, because last year Oscar went missing every now and then. But this year, he's there. Every time it's Lando, Oscar's there. They're separated by less than 1/10 of a second in qualifying each and every single time. The pressure is on Lando. Oscar's just coming in with nothing to lose. So I want to see now that Lando had pressure from Oscar, and now he's got Max coming as well. So Lando's like, both these guys are like sharks in water. So pressure's on Lando, looking to see how he responds to that, how he reacts to that. Obviously, he's going to come out and say, it's early days, championship, blah, blah, blah. It's all good. We got everything under control. I'm not feeling the pressure. I'm not thinking about the championship, yada, yada, yada. In the background, I would guess it's going to be, oof, man, Oscar is there. He won't go away. Like he's like a monkey on my back. Need to get rid of Oscar Piastri if I'm going to deal with Max. So there's a bit going on for Lando. Unfortunately, but he did a mega job in Australia. So I want to see more of that, obviously. Ferrari, this in the driver's mentality and who needs to do what. The drivers have got to get their arms around this. I said this last week as well. If you're Hamilton or Leclerc, at which point do you start complaining, saying like, yeah, things aren't good enough and we need to fix for this? We chose a wet setup in Melbourne, got screwed in qualifying, got stuck in traffic. Leclerc had the radio messages about the water. Ricky was telling me to use K1 every single lap, even though I told him, I got this, man, leave me to the K1, don't worry about it. The K1 is still available, Lewis. That was all the disaster that was Melbourne. A big underperformance there because the car was good, right? So now we come to China. Both the cars get kicked out of the race, one for fuel and one for plank wear. Hamilton wins the sprint. Then they come to, these two, Leclerc and Hamilton, come together at turn 2. And then they both get disqualified. And then we're talking about, what else are we talking about? Yeah, bad coaching as well in Suzuka. Hamilton constantly asking, where am I losing lap time? The engineer says, Lewis, you're losing lap time in 8 and 9 and 12 and 13. No more, no less. And Lewis is like, yeah, but where, how, why, who, when? Like, give me more information. Is it braking, turning, throttle, downshifting, entry, exit, mid-corner, apex, rotation? Like battery, like give me something. What's going on? Like give me a little bit more coaching. So we're seeing this as a theme. A lot of the drivers asking for coaching. If you listen to Hamilton's radio, you listen to Lando Norris's radio, both of them are getting a lot of coaching from their race engineer. I say coaching very loosely because it's not coaching. It's just directionally correct information. Oh, you're losing lap time at braking into turn 12 and on throttle into turn 8. But the why is not there. Why, how? I just wanted to touch on the qualifying lap of Max Verstappen and what principle he leveraged to be able to carry mega speed through turn 1, Degner 1, and into the final chicane as well. It's the principle of downforce. You guys hear him on the channel all the time. When downforce is active, do this. When downforce is not active, do this. Max is a downforce king, right? Baku is not his favorite circuit. If you notice, Checo Perez every now and then got the upper hand on him in Baku because Baku is a very low downforce circuit, not to mention downforce not active at these 50 kilometer, 60 kilometer, 70 kilometer per hour, 90-degree corners. That's not Max's cup of tea. Max's favorite track, if you don't know, Belgium, Spa. High speed, downforce active, the wings pressing the car into the ground. That's where Max is an alien. And in Suzuka last weekend, that's what we saw. When downforce is active through turn 1, through Degner 1, Max raised the bar because he knew he had the downforce active and available to him. Wasn't necessarily anything spectacular in the hairpin, but braking into the final chicane, braking in there from 303 kilometers per hour, Max was exceptional. So that's where I think the lap was won and lost, was the understanding of what the car is capable of when downforce is active. Big topic, and I teach that in my technical program as well. So yeah, look, back to Ferrari. I think they need to get their arms around it and start making some noise. Come on, Frederick, what's going on? Like, can we swap engineers? Why are we so fragmented and disjointed? For how long will Frederick tolerate this? For how long will Lewis tolerate this? This has been an ongoing theme at Ferrari and they need to get their arms around it. All right, let's jump over to the whiteboard and talk about the Bahrain track characteristics. Hopefully you can see that on the screen in front of you. Where do I start? So I wanted to talk about why Mercedes would be strong as well. I wanted to talk about, let's talk about why Mercedes will be strong. So do you guys remember when we jumped on board with Charles Leclerc through the increasing radius, turn 12, I want to say, in China that takes you onto the back straight? The radio from Leclerc was, whoa, Russell's got some serious traction. That Mercedes just pulls out of that corner. And then they had the best top speed as well. If you saw my China practice analysis, the Mercedes had good straight line speed as well. So the Mercedes holding straight line speed and traction, that's going to bode well this weekend. I got like a little half eye on Mercedes, half bet, not financial advice, but half bet on Mercedes. Let's go back to the track map so I can tell you why this is important. Traction zones. Look at the speed here, guys. 65 kilometers per hour. I'm going to zoom in just so you guys, like, it's very clear. Give me a sec. It's very clear what we're talking about in terms of minimum speed. And when I say downforce is not active, this is what I mean. You're accelerating out of here at 65 kilometers per hour. Your rear wing's not doing a whole lot at 65. Yeah, it's doing a little bit, maybe. Maybe it's awake, but it's not doing as much as this increasing radius 135 or this one 215, for example. So this is your first traction event. Mercedes, tick. And by the way, top speed, very important as we come down the pit straight. Mercedes, again, tick. Through turn 4, yes, traction is important. You're turning and accelerating at the same time. Not in turn 1. You've got the steering wheel pretty straight at turn 1. So you can straighten the car out, straighten the wheel out, and just go for straight forward traction. But through turn 4, yes, you are accelerating and on throttle at the same time. You're asking the car to do two things at once. That is turn and go. And therefore, traction is important. Even though it's at 105, downforce is starting to become more active. Another traction event down at turn 4. Turn 8, here we go, 70 kilometers. Again, rear wing not doing a whole lot there. Traction, very important. Opening the steering wheel on the exit is very important as well. That's your third traction event on the track. Then we've got the decreasing radius 9 and 10. We're going to talk about the trail braking a little bit later. But coming out of 10, there it is there, the 65 kilometer apex speed at 10. What's important? Traction, straight line acceleration, your throttle mapping, your short shifting, your spring setup, your ride height, how you bleed on the throttle, how you open the steering on exit. All of that is super important. So what do we got? I've lost count here. So we got 1 traction zone, 2 traction zones, 3 traction zones, 4 traction zones. And then for good measure, this is an increasing radius corner. Increasing radius is like defined as being like you need traction. Why? Because you're turning and on throttle at the same time, building speed, building traction through the whole situation. So yes, whilst 135 is, it's good and healthy and whatever, you're still turning through this curvature. That's very different to what we see down at turn 1 and turn 10, for example. These ones here, that one and that one, where you're not turning, you can just open the steering wheel and go straight, same as turn 8. So that's your 5th traction event. 13, not necessarily. 14, not necessarily either big traction events. So I wanted to call that out to you guys just to highlight how many traction events here. So if I had to pick one thing that you need here, it would be traction, top speed. I'm going to draw it for you. I'm going to write it for you, sorry. Traction is important. Top speed is important as well. And then the other one is front grip, McLaren Kingdoms. Oh, why did I write McLaren? Sorry, I meant to write front grip. So this is the thing, right? Now, these are the important things around this track. Mercedes are holding that one. Mercedes are holding that one as well. And our friends in the papaya color car are holding this one. So there you go, guys. That's my little insight for this one. Keep an eye on King George Russell of Kingsland for some good results this weekend. Okay, technical corners on the track. Let's go back a few steps. I'm just going to tell you about the technical corners and what's important. Turn 1 is a form of hairpin, I guess. Not the strictest definition, but it is a form of hairpin. Brake balance has to go forward into turn 1. Let me talk to you guys through turn 1 just at a greater length of detail. Turn 1, you're barreling in there at what, 300 and a gazillion miles an hour, right? 309 kilometers per hour, whatever, 320, doesn't matter. Downforce is active. Remember Max Verstappen's chicane, final chicane in Suzuka? Downforce is active. What does that mean? Yes, you must smack the brake pedal as hard as you possibly can on the initial application. Now that goes against one of Rob Wilson's principles and philosophies. Always introduce the car to what's coming next. Now, I don't want you to take this from me as being, I'm right and Rob's wrong, or Rob's right and I'm wrong, or whatever. But bring your brain with you, right? Follow your heart, but bring your brain with you. Yes, Rob's philosophies hold true 99.9% of the time, but Rob coaches in the road car, on the circuit, and it's all about vehicle dynamics. It's not anything to do with downforce. And downforce is one of your biggest friends, and your exhibit A is Max Verstappen's qualifying lap in Suzuka, right? That's what he leveraged. That's the tool that he leveraged. A lot of the drivers ask, what tools do you have available to you as an open formula driver? Brake, steering, throttle. Most people end the conversation there. I'm like, hang on. Brake, steering, throttle, downshifting, upshifting. Downforce is another tool that you have available in open formula when it's available and when it's not available. And then you've got diff, entry, mid, exit. You've got engine braking, brake migration, brake balance. Like, you've got a lot of tools, right? Here into turn one, brake balance can go forward and you can smack the brake pedal as hard as possible. If you don't believe me, I'm going to bring up my telemetry from, this is my telemetry from Bahrain on the sim. So this is turn one. So I'm going to zoom in. So I get to 100%. Now, very different condition. Let me just go back a few steps, give you guys a bit of context on the condition. The condition for braking into turn one, steering wheel straight, high downforce, heavy braking zone. It doesn't get much better than that in terms of when to push the brake pedal hard. There are plenty of other times you can be progressive with your brake pedal. We're going to talk about them on the track. Decreasing radius corners, cold brakes, cold tires, cold track, hard compound, braking and turning at the same time, etc., etc. Like, the list goes on. This is not one of those cases. Braking into turn one needs to be super, super like smack. And as you can see in the telemetry, this is my telemetry. This is how I put the brakes down in turn one in Bahrain. So pretty quick. So the thing you're looking for here, you're looking for a couple of things. No lift and coast. Obviously, we're not trying to save fuel in the qualifying. So it's going to be straight off the throttle, as you can see in green, and straight on the brakes as quickly as possible. This brakes, one of Rob's philosophies, always introduce the car to what's coming next. But it's steering wheel straight, high downforce. Here's a speed for you, by the way. 313 in purple. Sorry. You guys might not be able to see that, but this purple tag is 313. That's the speed trace up there. Give me a sec. I'll see if I can zoom out. Yeah, you guys can't see it, but it's 313 up there. Let me just open this up for you guys so you can see it. It will be that one. There you go. You see that? How's that? So 313, you're braking from 313. I want to highlight that to you as an indication of speed and downforce that you're going to be carrying into turn one. No delay between coming off the throttle and jumping on the brakes. Speed's coming down. And then this is where the trail braking starts into turn one. You're now coming off the brakes, trading brake pressure for steering angle in accordance with the friction circle. So as the brakes come off, the steering comes on. Exactly what you're looking for. And they've got to be like, you've got to be coordinated to be able to do this. So the brake starts coming off, 92, 70, 60, coming down. And look, the steering is coming on. Now look, when the brakes are totally off, that's when you're at max steering. This is the sort of progressive steering that I was expecting from Liam Lawson. We didn't see it in China. It was all over the place in terms of its rate. You want to be as smooth as possible. And then obviously you're turning to the left to take turn two. And that's where you're building the traction. And we said traction is very important. You build the throttle on the way out and off you go. Now I wanted to highlight to you turn one as being a case for smacking the brake pedal as distinct from the decreasing radius, turn 9 and 10. So if I just click my mouse here, you can see where I am. We come through the S's, down into turn 8, come out of here. Then this is where Kimi Antonelli locked up. This is the decreasing radius, turn 9 and 10. I'm going to show you guys the line through here as well. So if I go to my telemetry, have a look at the braking input. Very different. First thing you'll notice, it doesn't get to 100%. It gets to 70.9%. That's the first thing. Hopefully you can see that on the screen. Is that good for you guys? Let me know in the chat if you can see. But it doesn't get to 100%. It gets to 70. Why is that? Why does it not get to 100%? Well, a few things. When we push the brakes, we're doing it at 250. Remember, the other one was 313. There's a big difference in downforce between 250 and 313. That's the first thing. But the most important thing, the steering is 17%. When you're turning and braking at the same time, you've got to be progressive with your brakes and then just gently put them on and gently put them off, right? So you'll see the steering here when I introduce the brakes at 17%. What was the steering down at turn 1? Almost should be almost dead center. There you go. 0.1 0.1 dead center. So with the steering wheel straight, 313, mate, get onto it. And then down here, decreasing radius corner, turning and braking at the same time, steering 16, 17%, then yes, braking has to be progressive. Rob Wilson's philosophy applies. Introduce the car to what's coming next. Same as the throttle on the exit. I think we had 65 as an apex speed. Here I'm doing in the sim 74. Yeah, you need to introduce the car to what's coming next. Look how progressive this throttle trace looks as I unwind the steering and get back to 0. This is taking a long time to build speed, build downforce, short shift, get the car walking and moving forward. It's when I get to 133 kilometers that I'm at full throttle. So does that make sense, guys? I just wanted to highlight to you the steering wheel condition and the speed condition. They're your two biggest friends when you're talking about hitting the brake pedal super hard. If any of those are out of the window, like you're not doing enough speed or you're turning and braking at the same time, be progressive with your inputs. Rob Wilson's philosophy applies. All right, that's into the hairpin. Another technical corner. Oh, by the way, if you're not familiar with the 7 technical corners, you should be, hopefully by now. And this was why Suzuka is such a mad track. 7 technical corners are S's, chicanes. We don't have these here. Hairpin. I guess we have 1 or 2. Double apex. I'm going to put double apex. And then you've got the 3 long corners. 5, 6. These are the 7 technical corners. Long corner of constant radius. Long corner of increasing radius. Long corner of decreasing radius. So a very different track to Suzuka. Suzuka, we had him, and double apex. And in Bahrain, we have the hairpin and the increasing radius and the decreasing radius. So that's what we're looking at. So where are these corners? Well, turn 1, I guess, is the hairpin. Like I say, it's not like Chinese hairpin, super strict. But here's your decreasing radius, and here's your increasing radius, and here's your decreasing radius. I guess here is another decreasing radius as well. So I'm going to put it on the track here. This one's your hairpin. This one's your decreasing radius. This one's your increasing radius. This one's your decreasing radius. This one's your decreasing radius. Do you guys follow me here? Can you let me know in the chat? Is this too techie, or you guys follow me? Let me know. All right. So now that we've spoken about the hairpin, I want to talk to you guys about the decreasing radius corner. Let's check out why this corner is so challenging and what the most important thing in decreasing radius corners is. Remember, you got one here, here, and kind of half of one over here as well. So 3 decreasing radius corners. You guys are following? All right. Billy. Whoop. Billy, we are following. Jesse, it's clear. Tetzel, this is good. Burak, it's good. All good, coach. All right. Erica, good. Everyone's happy. Okay, so where was I? Decreasing radius corners. All right, give me a sec. I'm going to show you why decreasing radius corners are so challenging. Remember, Kimi Antonelli in testing was struggling with decreasing radius corners. Every time he went through 9 and 10, I'll bring up the whiteboard just a sec. This is the corner I'm focused on now, 9 and 10. He was struggling, a lot into that corner. So I want to show you guys the challenge of that corner. You're braking and turning at the same time. You need to be progressive with your braking. What can you do? Whenever you don't have braking capacity with your foot, you've got to make up for it with something else. You've got to stop the car efficiently some other way. What else can you use? The gears. Pull back hard with the gears. That's a form of engine braking. even before you even touch any of the switches on the car in terms of increasing the engine braking potential. The other thing you can do is obviously introduce the brakes gently, go on progressively, keep the steering wheel as straight as possible, and the brake migration as well. Remember, the lockup doesn't happen on the initial contact into the decreasing radius corner. It happens later, and I'm going to show you in a sec. Whereas a lockup into turn one will happen on the initial contact. And it's important. If this is your braking zone, and I'm exaggerating, that's a big braking zone. Does the lockup happen on the initial contact, or does it happen later in the braking zone? It's important to make that distinction. You need to know that. So let me bring it up. Oh, can you guys see that? Give me a sec. This is Kimi Antonelli struggling into the 9 and 10 decreasing radius. So the first thing you notice is the steering is turned. Obviously, that's what makes it a challenge, right? That means that this tire is unloaded, the left front tire, because the load's coming across the other, like coming across to the right front. So steering turned, and then right at the end, as he adds the steering, what do you know? He locks up the unloaded left front. There it is, just at the end. You see the smoke come up. You see it's under rotate there as well. You'll see a good shot here. Look at his glove starting to add the lock. Flat spot as well. So that's the sort of thing that can happen in decreasing radius corners. Now, like I said, Kimi needs to resolve for that. I didn't see him resolve for that in testing, but he will need to resolve for it, like I said, via engine braking, brake balance, brake pressure, brake shape, or brake migration. You're going to have to, you know, use your tools. Now, look, Kimi's 18. The guy's still in school. I wouldn't expect him to know that straight away. But over time, like with his engineers or with the right advice and right coaching, Valtteri Bottas in his corner as well can try to help him through that corner. It's a technical corner. It's one of the 7 technical corners. So it deserves, you know, the respect. I wanted to highlight to you guys the increasing radius corner as well and just show you the challenge of that corner. If we use green, this is our increasing radius corner. The problem here is turning and accelerating at the same time. So traction is a problem. In qualifying, it won't be. These guys are going to bury the throttle and just get out of here super quick. But with a hard compound tire, with a crosswind, with heavy fuel, dramas trying to get out of this corner. So let me show you on the telemetry, like how we get out, or how I was getting out of this corner. Let's have a look. So it's this one up here. And yeah, there you go. Can you guys see how long and drawn out that throttle trace is? Like we're starting here at 0. And the most important thing is I've got the steering on here. I'm turning and accelerating at the same time. And this is why this is such a drawn out throttle. So what are some of the things you can do to get out of here quicker, turning and on throttle at the same time? Actually, you see this? The steering spike there, that's a snap. That's me like giving it a bit of opposite lock to correct the car. So even though this is a long drawn out throttle, and actually you see a little lift in the throttle, nearly got to full and then just got out of it a little bit. That corresponds with the snap as well. Exactly. So I'll just get the cursor away from that so you guys can see it and zoom in. There's a little dip here in my throttle, which corresponds to the opposite lock in the steering. The steering should just, you know, form 0. But it doesn't because I got a slide here. And that's if you know how to read your telemetry, that's how you guys can see what's going on. So yeah, what I wanted to highlight to you was how drawn out the throttle is here and what are some of the things you can do in an increasing radius corner to help yourself. Number 1, short shift. But be careful because when you shift, it puts like a torque into the engine. It's a bit annoying, can break traction as well. Diff, whether it's your diff exit or on throttle, whatever you want to call it, tightening up the diff can help you with your traction. Opening the steering wheel always helps. Once the steering wheel is open, you can put your foot down. We spoke about the steering wheel being open here and how much it helps. We spoke about steering being turned here and how annoying it is. Kimi Antonelli. So open the steering wheel helps. Short shift, differential, rear wing, obviously. Rear roll bar as well, or obviously all the rear setup. The problem with rear wing, if you want to add that in this corner, is you're going to get caned down the straight. So I always try to avoid putting on rear wing as a last resort after I've tried my short shifting, after I've tried tightening up the diff, after I've changed my line and opened the steering wheel more, because rear wing comes with a penalty, and that penalty is felt here, 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 and here as well. So you don't want to add rear wing. It's like, you know, it might fix your turn 11, but you're going to pay for that at one point as well. All right. What else have we got? Yeah, so I've shown you guys my telemetry, spoken about Rob Wilson, spoken about technical corners. I've spoken about why Mercedes will be strong. I've spoken about Antonelli's struggles into turn 9 and 10 as well. A quick testing recap just quickly on McLaren before we move on. Now in the second day, sorry, not first, the second day, McLaren were like a weapon on the second day. Lando's front end was ridiculous. I'm going to bring it up on the screen now. All right. Can you guys see that? So I want you guys to pay attention to the front end, how it just hooks up the track so well. Look how he's able to add steering. Add. Beautiful progression, by the way, guys. I mean, this is buttery. Beautiful progression, by the way. If you've seen my Liam Lawson video, that's where he went wrong. Yeah, what I wanted to highlight to you guys here was it had so much front in it. And I can tell that this is too much front as opposed to a rear sliding because of the other two clips. That at one point, it catches Lando out, and it's been catching him out all season, how much front it has. So he adds steering, add, and he realizes, like, hang on, if I keep going on the trajectory I'm on, I'm going to like chop this corner. I need to open the steering, go around, and then go around the corner because there's so much front end. Watch the steering and watch when he opens the wheel just a fraction. There. Did you see that? He had to open it and then go again. I'm going to play that again for you guys so you can see it. There it is. So that means the McLaren has got mega front end grip. But then we saw on the third day in Bahrain, when the track got hotter, don't know if McLaren were trying something or not, all of this front end turned into oversteer from McLaren. And this is Lando, same corner, everything. Check this out. This is turn 4. Look at the rear, looks like it's on ice. It's crazy. It looks like it's wet out there. Like, you just wouldn't think that this is the same car that looked on rails the previous video 2 days apart. So whether or not that was temperature or else, keep an eye out for how the McLaren is handling this weekend in Bahrain. Is it the mega front grip and everything's happy and, you know, we're all good? Or is it the oversteer, entry oversteer? And how are they going to dial that out? I think it's with the steering, to be honest, slowing the front end down as opposed to the rear. A lot of McLaren's focus has been on the rear because it's rear instability, but it's the front. So powerful, it's just pulling the car around. The rear can't keep up with it. All right. Let's take a few questions at this point. We're halfway through. Hope you guys are following me. Sorry, there's quite a lot going on. Okay, now a question here from Dwayne. Dwayne Arthur, can you slow the car down using different points of entry to the corner? Well, given that you're speaking about entry into the corner, we can talk about 9 and 10. I'm going to show you the correct line through 9 and 10. Why don't we do that? And that might help me answer your question. I'll move this over here. 9 and 10, decreasing radius corner. Like that. So you come in this way. That's 9. That's 10. That's your curb. So the correct line actually misses this point here. You don't want to touch that one because if you do, I'll show you its dramas. You want to go around that one and it gives you like a bit of a straighter entry and an ability to get better rotation and better exit. I think this is the key part here. It gives you a straighter time braking. So that's why this line is preferred. The key part here is that it misses the apex. The line that I don't like to see, and Hamilton was taking this line, guys, in testing as well. I don't know why. It's a bit closer in. And it's kind of like that. And it's more work to do to rotate the car there. And you're turning a lot more through here, turning and braking. Not a big fan of it. You've got a slower minimum speed here. I don't like it. It is the short corner line, but I don't like it. In the sim, this line is preferred. It's just you carry more speed. This from here on, it's straighter. So to answer your question, can you slow the car down using different points of entry? Yes. Well, I reckon you'd slow the car down a lot more effectively using the green line because you've got less steering on than when you eventually wind on the steering in the red line. So ultimately it comes down to what's happening with the steering wheel. You guys have been following the channel for a while. You know that the steering wheel is like, I always refer back to it. It's one of the most important things. It's responsible for all the spins in the wet, people accelerating with the steering wheel like this. It's responsible for Liam Lawson not understanding the Red Bull. It's how Max was so great. It's helpful here in the line. It's why Kimi Antonelli locked up. The front grip of the McLaren, everything's like always centered around the steering wheel. And it allows you to use the pedals more or less. When the steering wheel is straight, you can go after the throttle and go after the brake. When the steering is turned, you can't as much go after the throttle or go after the brake in accordance with the friction circle. So yeah, to answer your question, I hope that answers your question. All right, next one. Kudze. Sorry, man, I'm just going to read your question. Hello, may you please explain what Peter Windsor means by short corner and what the difference between a short corner driver is a long corner driver? I've actually got a video on this. So I can give you a quick rundown now, but I've got a video on this. Type in what is the short corner Rob Wilson Peter Windsor analysis or something, and you'll get my you'll get my video on it. But I'll teach you just quickly. Firstly, to do a short corner, you need a long corner. You can't short corner a chicane, for example, or a set of S's or a hairpin or a double apex. It doesn't really lend itself to short corners, at least not in the dry. Maybe in the wet, you can short corner a hairpin, like go deep, blah, 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 do the whole rotation. But in the dry, let's talk about the dry. Then no, you need a long corner to be able to shorten it up. Now, where the definitions differ, I think, is Rob was the first one to start talking about short corners. I'm going to follow his definition first. It's like you extend the straight coming in, you extend the straight coming out, and you've got a small condensed rotation point in the middle of this long corner. And you spend less time cornering, like turning the steering wheel, and it's a smaller rotation point. So that's Rob's definition. It makes sense. Every time I've heard him speak about it, it makes sense. So let's take a long corner of constant radius, like let's say second last corner in Hungary. And let's draw like a traditional geometric line that just goes like something like that. So the problem that Rob has with this is like you're turning from here, turning. And Rob is like, well, you're turning too much. Like it's not a short corner. So Rob is like, he's all about V'ing the corner off. That is the short corner. Extend the straight coming out, extend the straight coming in, short rotation. That is your short corner. So Rob would be like, why don't you do something like that? So you just plow in, stop the car, low minimum speed. This is your low minimum speed here. And then get on throttle and open the steering wheel on the exit. And that can work. Now in cars with downforce, Formula One cars, you've got something else to consider. The low minimum speed here means that the downforce has fully dropped out of the car, which means when you go to get back on throttle, you're doing so from a situation of less downforce. Whereas with the blue line, you keep downforce active the whole way through the corner. That's something to consider, which Rob and Peter don't talk about. So what Peter talks about is short corners is coming a step inside of any racing line, coming a step inside of the edge of the track, and then just doing a line like that. And the way Peter says it is a shorter corner, because he always refers to, if you had a paint underneath the car and you saw the white line of paint going around the track, then the red line would be a shorter distance than any of the other lines. Therefore, it's a shorter lap. Therefore, it's a shorter corner. I don't know. That's his definition, I guess. So every time he talks about short corners, you're a step inside of the normal racing line, and you're not like going all the way around in terms of doing. The green one is actually the longest distance. So yeah, I think he got it a bit confused. But anyway, that's that. What's your question? May you please explain what Peter Minzer means by short corners and what the difference between a short corner driver and a long corner driver is? Hang on. Let me just try to, can I bring that back? Come back. Yeah. So the short corner driver is the green one. That's a short corner. And the long corner driver is the blue one. And that's it. Does that answer your question? I hope so. Sema, PW had short corners mixed up with tyre management. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah, you're right, because the red line's more favorable in terms of tyre management. Yep. Okay, let's kick on. What else have we got? So who's going to go well in predictions? Sema, let me just bring your comment down. Who's going to go well in predictions? Obviously, McLaren have to be up there. I mean, the car's got a lot of strength that we've spoken about. Traction, top speed, front end grip, tyre management. They have to be in there, particularly in the heat as well. But the heat on day 3 meant that McLaren were getting all this oversteer. So I'm not sure if it was the heat or they were trying things on day 3. We'll have to wait and see. McLaren have to be up there. But like I said, I've got my eye on Mercedes for this one, just because of the traction zones as well. Now, typically Mercedes don't like the heat. So there's another drama for them. I'm not sure. I'm going to stick McLaren in there. Mercedes potentially. Ferrari, maybe. They've got a new floor. We'll have to talk about that. And obviously Max, you can never write off either. Okay, so let's talk about strategy. Unfortunately, we've got the the SH1T compounds this weekend. Let's bring them up. We've got the same ones we had last weekend, these rock hard ones. The compounds. In fact, the temperature will be a very important variable when it comes to tyre management at the 4th race of the year. As was the case in Suzuka, the teams will have a choice of 3 hardest compounds in Pirelli's 2025 range, namely the C1, the C2, and the C3. Great. So we're looking at maybe a 1-stop. So that's that. Yes. The C1 is very hard compound. So look, I don't know, hopefully it degrades. Hopefully with the temperature, it's going to degrade and we can get a 2-stop race. I'd like to see that. But otherwise with these rock hard tyres, we're probably going to be looking at a 1-stop. George Russell's come out and said, Pirelli need to bring some softer tyres to the tracks just to promote something different, overtaking, degradation, tyre management, blah, 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 just to spice it up a bit. So let's see. We'll be able to see if Suzuka was an anomaly or it was like, you know, we're going to see the same thing again. George, your question caught my eye. In Suzuka, Max was gaining on traction zones in slow corners from the McLaren. This was not a trait in previous races. Was it clean air fixes from RB or both? You're talking about the race? Okay. Max was gaining on traction zones, slow corners from the McLaren. Yeah, I guess so. I guess he's got the advantage of clean air. Not that that would help you in a slow corner, but that would help you look after your tyres at all times. So I guess so, but I would be verifying what you're saying. It's not that I don't trust you, but trust but verify. I'd have to check that he was getting it on the exits and so on. But yeah, of course, Max has got clean air. He's going to be, you know, he's going to have a better all-around life up front than what the McLarens will have. Turn 1, lap 1. Very important. Check this out, guys. Now, I've been saying pretty much every single race looking forward what people need to do. You want to trade pole position for the inside. Let's get a whiteboard up again. And this whiteboard's working overtime today. All right. So let's say it's Lando on pole, L, and it's max P2. Max. What Lando needs to do is get here as quickly as possible and compete for this space here, because this is the inside into turn 1. This is the outside into turn 1. You don't want to line your car up, therefore, Lando, straight in your box. Sorry, someone's like smashing outside. Let me just close the window. All right, where was I? You don't want to line your car up straight in the box and go straight ahead, because what's going to happen is if Max gets a better start, put Max in blue, he's going to sneak up the inside. You don't want that. What you've got to do if you're Lando is angle your car across and get to the compete for this space here is very important. From the inside, you can control and manage the corner and the situation. So who did that well last year? Take a guess. Max Verstappen. So look, he's starting on pole position on the left. Yeah, I know. You always tell Oscar this, but he never does it. I know. This is Max starting on pole. Max is not a bunny. This is what he does. Look, straight away, he's smothering Leclerc on the inside. Leclerc got a pretty good start, but Max is like, Look where Max is. Someone tell me that this is not how it's done. This is how it's done. It's not hard. There's Lando and all those guys. But look, good job by Max pulling to the inside. This is class. This is quality defense. This is Schumacher-esque, guys. Now, Max, remember, he started over here on our side, on the right-hand side. And then he just smothers Leclerc, I think it is, and gets to the inside as quickly as possible. From the inside, Mr. Leclerc here needs to attack around the outside. Not going to happen. Max will get to the apex first, be on the inside, run you out of road. You're not coming around. So what Max does is accelerate through the mid corner and run Leclerc out of road. Safely exits turn 1 in the lead. That's obviously what I'm looking for at the start here. That's what I'm usually looking for on the start here. And Max is the only one that seems to be awake onto it. It was interesting to see Lando line up in Suzuka from P2, lining his car up across. I don't know why. If you're on second, all you need to do is just go straight forward. So if Lando's here, all he needs to do is go straight. For some reason, Lando was angling his car across to the left. I don't know why. I don't think it was necessary. I spoke about that in my Suzuka video. Okay, I skipped a section. Any car track regulation updates? Now, the story so far is that the slot gap has been trending topic. The slot gap, the rear wing slot gap between the main plane and the beam wing. FIA trying to close that up. They went from 2 mil permissible, 0.75 permissible. Now they're at 0.5 permissible. So that's no change this weekend, 0.5. And I think Ferrari have a new floor and rear wing. Let's see how they go with that. Apparently Hamilton's searching for consistency across the cars as well. You might have heard in Suzuka, he was talking about, oh, you know, we found the problem on the car and they're not the same across cars. And once I get them the same, I'm going to be back up there. Let's see how that goes. I'm not sure. But apparently Ferrari are looking at the back end, new floor, new rear wing and that sort of thing. So let's keep an eye out for that. As far as I know, no track updates. As far as I know, no regulation updates either. Okay, we're on time. Let's take 10 minutes of your questions and then we will wrap up. I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover. Sorry, I know it was a big one. I know it was techie on the track map discussion, but yeah, I hope that helps you. Guys, whack your questions in and we'll do a few minutes Q&A and I need to wrap up on the hour strict. Let's go. Robbie's a member. You can see he's got the little, sorry, I know Robbie. His name's Hawk. Hawk's a member. He's got the little helmet there. That's how you can tell. So I got to answer those questions first, as well as super chats. If you want to whack a super chat in, I'll look out for it and answer it. Would you argue the McLaren's biggest competition so far? has been themselves. Look, I think last year, yes. I mean, there was how many mistakes? Like millions of mistakes. Silverstone strategy, Austria not holding position when he did a successful overtake, the start in Netherlands, the start in Hungary, the Hungary strategy, Austin attacking Max around the outside off the track. I thought the yellow flags in Baku was a mistake from Lando. The yellow flags in Qatar was a mistake from Lando. There was a lot last year, without a shadow of a doubt. The biggest competition was themselves. This year, I mean, it would be hard to say that. Lando won the first race. He came second in the second race. He came second in the third race. I mean, 1-2-2 is pretty good so far. Yeah, could they have done a bit more with the strategy in Suzuka? Yes, but it wasn't the worst thing in the world. So let's wait and see. Not yet, but last year certainly. Wouldn't surprise me if we see the same thing again. But yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at. I hope that answers your question, Robbie. Why don't F1 drivers have couches? I'm sure they have couches. I think you mean coaches. Good question. Combination of factors. One is because I don't think anyone at the moment has been good enough to relate to the driver to be able to talk to them in a driving language that makes sense and can relate to the feeling that they're feeling. It's all this engineering talk, and there's such a disconnect between the engineers and the drivers that they're like, I don't know, I guess they've never experienced it. But there's a few facets, right? That might be one. The second one might be money, cost cap. You've got to fit them in the budget now as well. So whether the team can pay for them or not, or the driver has to bring them in personally. Thirdly, unfortunately, I think ego and arrogance has a part to play. Like, I don't need a driver coach. I'm a Formula One driver. There's a bit of that as well. And fourthly, a lot of attention is on the car from the drivers themselves and from the team. How can we make the car quicker? The car's not how I like it. We couldn't get the tires in the window. The car, the engine, need more downforce, straight line speed. Hamilton, the rear grip's not where I want it. There's always a focus on the car. So between financial, not yet anyone decent, a focus on the car too much, and a little bit of arrogance, those four reasons combined are why I think F1 drivers don't have like full-time coaches. But if I was an F1 driver, I would be doing everything in my power possible to make sure that I'm as best prepared as possible. Even if you hire a person for the full season and you learn one tiny thing that helped you in one race, and instead of giving you 18 points, it gave you 25 points on one occasion, that's worth it. And that's the worst case. So best case, he or she helps you every single weekend. So between worst case and best case, it's a positive outcome. Whether or not they like being told how to drive, and I think that's wrong if the driver coach is coming at it saying, you need to drive like this. I like to come at it like, well, try this line, try this brake setup, try this, like give them direction. But between those reasons, that's why I think so. Yeah, coaches, there it is. Billy, I think I learned a lot. I'm glad you did. Thank you. Sounds like a Nico Rosberg to me. Yeah, exactly. Nico was great like that. Problem solving, going into detail, hiring necessary coaches. For Nico, it was on the mental side, fine. But for a lot of the drivers, it could be on the technical or tactical side as well. So yes, like Nico Rosberg. Good question here. Sakuga addict Ronak. Which driver would you like to work with if you ever got the chance? Wow, good question. Haven't thought about this. Wait, give me a sec to think about it. I think Rosberg, if he was around still, because the level that he went to in terms of Nico was thinking like an engineer, like, what if I did this? Was the lap time here? What if I tried? Like, it would just be fascinating to hear from him on that side. I don't think you'd get the same curiosity from another driver. Maybe Max would be curious in this area as well. But then there wouldn't be as much that I could help Max with. Obviously, he's very complete, near perfect. So Nico, if he was around, would be great. Let me just think. A young one like an Antonelli would be good because they're so clean, so fresh, and you can build grow together. I like that story would be nice. So someone young, someone technical, even someone like Nico Hulkenberg, who I think is smart, intelligent. The discussions that we would have about how to optimize things, I think would be really healthy as well. So a rookie or someone switched on, you know. I don't think I could work with someone that's not into the curiosity and the problem solving the same way I am, because it wouldn't work. I'd be saying, hey, try this. They'd be like, oh, it doesn't make a difference. And then I'd be like, well, how else are you gonna improve? Oh, it'll be right. It was the tires or whatever. And then it wouldn't work. So I'd need someone who'd be like, yeah, good idea. We'll try. Like, it's got to be that. I need that open-mindedness. So one of those guys. Okay, we got 4 minutes. Cameron Whelan. Do you think there's any excuse for any driver in the field for lack of experience in Bahrain? Feels like they've all had enough experience in one way or another, regardless of who they are. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think there's ever an excuse, even to the extent that it's your first day on the track or whatever. You've got so many tools and resources and simulators and data and information. Unless it's like a track you haven't been to before plus a sprint weekend, like Liam Lawson in China. Yeah, I would have forgiven him for that weekend because it's like completely new car, track, weekend, like very hard to get up to speed in one session. But to the extent to which you have a normal session here, 3 practice sessions on a track we know and so on, then no. Unfortunately, it's harsh, but that's F1. Like you're professional, you've got to be prepared. There's no point spending time in the gym when you could be in the simulator and or with a coach doing the work, understanding the technical corners, like everything we've spoken about here tonight or today. Then yeah, I'm leaning on the side of no excuse, but I make exceptions for like Liam Lawson in China. I think we can make an exception for that one. That's just my opinion though. Let me know yours. And, you know, there are, of course, times when you've got to be understanding and lenient as well, of course. What do you think of Leclerc? I feel he drives beautifully, but I feel his aggression on track is lackluster and maybe he would benefit from a coach. I think you're referring to his racecraft, his attack, his defense, his starts, his restarts. In this sense, I agree. He's not sharp enough on track. But one lap qualifying pace for days. You only need to look at his qualifying record, how good he is in qualifying versus his race win record to see that I think he's got like 26 poles and 5 wins. So that's not great conversion. So he's got technical side perfect in terms of braking, throttle, acceleration, reading telemetry, lap time. Yep. But tactical, like strategy, fuel saving, tire management is pretty good. But attack, defense, starts, restarts, I'm not sure he's that sharp in that area. Vegas is a good example. He took a beautiful pole there in 2023. Lost the lead like 20 meters later. Like you can't do that. Like you've got to defend into turn 1. So yeah, I agree with you. He drives beautifully, but his aggression on track is lackluster. Yeah, well said. Yeah, Kimi Räikkönen would be good to work with. I think he would have that mindset as well. Yeah. Oh, a lot of questions, sorry. What talent would you want to combine from Verstappen, Hamilton, and Leclerc to create the near perfect driver? Good question. Let's start with Max because we don't need to fill in too many gaps. Max is near perfect. The only thing I see sometimes Max is he uses too much track on some specific corners and it hurts his outside tires in terms of tire life. Very rare occasion, like specific type of corner, specific case and specific situation, he can hurt the tires a little bit too much. Most of the time you won't see it because you've got to be looking for that specific case. That's one small weakness of Max's that only pops up very infrequently. The other one would be, I can't help but feel like in Hungary last year when he threw the car at Lewis, Mexico last year when he threw the car at Lando, I think those cost him points. I know a lot of people have the view on Mexico like, yeah, but he did it for Lando so that Lando couldn't win and blah, blah, blah. I don't believe that, because if Lando couldn't pass Max, what makes you think he was going to pass Carlos Sainz, race leader? So I think in those situations, throwing the car at people is a weakness as well. Cost him points. So near perfect other than those two things. I think Leclerc's tyre wear I'm bringing in, and Hamilton's and maybe emotional stability I'm throwing in as well. There's your perfect driver. So that actually works quite well because Leclerc's good with tyres. If you saw China, Leclerc was great with tyres as compared to Hamilton. And I think Hamilton keeps his head a little bit more consistently. But look, these guys are all good. So I'm really picking at details here. Okay, we have to take last question and then I'm running off. I need to go. If you could remove one driver, what's that mean? If you could remove one driver transfer of all time, what would it be? I don't know what that means. Sorry, George. Remove one driver transfer? Sorry, I don't know what it means. I have to take one more. So by extrapolating, you consider Max the better driver when compared to Hamilton. Yeah. Yeah. I do. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the live stream. I hope you learned something from it. Just in summary, things to watch out for are going to be traction and Mercedes. Keep an eye on them. We'll check them out during the weekend with the telemetry. The heat, how it affects the compounds. And what else was I looking out for? Oh, Kimi Antonelli breaking into 9 and 10. McLaren's front end. And yeah, how Yuki and Liam get on as well, and how the new floor gets on with Hamilton and Ferrari. Thanks for watching, guys. Please, on your way out, do me a favor, like the video, comment the video, share the video to a friend. And like I say, all these things help the channel, and subscribe, of course, moving forward if you haven't subscribed already. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.